Scooching over. Ah shit, the audio quality was stinkier. Alright, I'll get back to proper audio quality land.
This is video 6 of a video series ranking and reviewing every season of Avatar. There's a playlist that you should check out for the rest of the videos, as some jokes might carry over from previous videos. And of course, this is a good time to remind you to subscribe, so do it. This is both critique and my opinion, but I urge you to comment if you want to. I read everything.
Well, coming from the first season of Aang, now we have the first season of Korra. To be honest, they are different enough to be called different shows, but Korra's first season had the advantage and disadvantage of following The Last Airbender. On the one hand, viewership is guaranteed. On the other, those viewers might not be satisfied if the book differs too much from the previous one. And Air sure does. It begins revealing that Aang has died, and it's been long enough for the new avatar to come to light. Partially because this avatar is naturally able to bend fire, earth and water without actual training. So this avatar trains, and we get introduced to her as a character when she is an adolescent, a time known for making characters insufferable because all teenagers are. This already deviates a lot from the past series by removing the learning aspects as well as the novelty of young characters being thrust into greater responsibilities, but that's not the main change that makes both series different as light and day. The characters in Korra have proper understanding of bending to the point where they are able to pull off much more impressive tactics, and the show takes place in one location only. In The Last Airbender, Aang and Team Avatar travel all around the land, visiting different places and dealing with multiple political and social issues. Sadly, it took Korra 2 unexpected renewals to get into that format. Sometimes to its benefit, but sometimes not to it. I think this book is different, but at the same time it goes to show the technological development of the universe and allows for a self-contained threat and whatnot. Let's do a list of positives and negatives for the season. Perhaps that way we can get all of the good, the bad, and the wicked, we'll be mad, we'll rebrick it with outstanding animation. Wow, the animation here is great. They do sometimes use 3D backgrounds which do look kinda weird, but they look better than the 3D objects tend to look in the original series. And, well, most importantly, the fights are amazing, and partially because of that outstanding animation. Bending is utilized in The Legend of Korra to a greater extent than in The Last Airbender. It's not only inventive, but it's portrayed in an extremely interesting manner and animated with enough flash. It's not just the movements, but also the skill sets of the characters. They are kinda ridiculous in their ability to make you go, wow, that's smart a lot of the time. Also, the fights have stakes that variate greatly and shine through with the fighting. Sometimes the characters are at odds with each other and they fight sloppy. Sometimes they are simply fighting for the sports, and sometimes they have personal problems with their opponents and they get too angry and aggressive. A few videos back I mentioned what makes a good fight scene, and Book Air completely understands these concepts, albeit not entirely perfectly. There's even a fight on top of a dome which makes use of the structure masterfully. Needless to say, if you don't have nostalgia tinted glasses, these fights leave a lot of The Last Airbender fights on the dust. That doesn't mean The Last Airbender doesn't leave The Legend of Korra dry in some aspects. Like the character design, Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph and Zuko have designs that are instantly recognizable. Korra has characters that look way more bland and uninteresting. Korra, Amon and Lin are the only characters that I'd say have good designs, but the other characters often tend to look like background characters. But the biggest mistake probably has to be the creatures. Pabu and Naga are very cute, but they are just real-life animals with the heads of another animal. Compare this to Appa and Momo, it's not hard to see the issue. And talking about issue, the issue of the love triangle. Did anyone really care? Mako and Bowlin work better after this season is done. Not that the love quadrangles do, because those might not go away yet. In fact, the only thing where I wonder how they got away is the writers with the fucking villain. I like that the villain actually has a point that couldn't be entirely negative. I've seen people say Amon's thing just made him into a bad guy, but he clearly pointed out a real issue of the Avatar universe. He isn't just trying to take over the world, and I appreciate this along with not losing the seriousness. Another thing I hear often is how this show is less serious than the other one, but it isn't at all. Like, it still deals with a lot of political and social issues, but this time they took a more in-universe approach. Also, can I just talk about the murder-suicide? Did that not dawn on anyone? Here's something that at least down on me. Ow, my established rules about bending. This one is brief. It mostly comes down to the tilting of power after metal bending became the norm. And apparently there's now a shit ton of platinum, so the metal bending doesn't work, which is like, why would you decide to do this instead of just not creating the issue in the first place? At least good stuff came out of it later, but it's a discrepancy that takes you out of it for a moment at first. Talking about out of it, where is the word? They end up staying in the same place for a lot of the time in this book, and as I mentioned earlier, it is alright and I didn't mind it, but I see why some people would. Lastly, there is one thing that I'm not too sure about because it has good things and bad things. Korra herself. She's brash, she's annoying, she's a tomboy, and she's not at all spiritual. She's straight up opposite to Aang. Sometimes she's stupid even. And I don't know if I like it. On the one side, seeing the life of a normalish avatar with different ideals is pretty cool. On the other side, some behaviors make Korra unbearable at times. I like this because Korra is a teenager after all, and I certainly see where her struggle is coming from given the immense amount of responsibility and expectation, but some people may not, and that's also alright, I guess. All this is to say that The Legend of Korra and The Last Airbender are different. People review Korra on the basis of whether or not it does or doesn't resemble Aang's story. That's cool and all, but people miss the understanding that these are different stories and they don't have the same messages, purposes, or themes. This isn't a child's struggle with the destiny of the world, this is a teenager's struggle with the inexperience of her status, and it's not even her fault either. On its own, without a comparison to anything, Air stands as a great show. With a self-contained plot and smooth character development presented in the Western anime style with quite a great amount of polish, not losing what made its predecessor great but different enough to be its own thing. It has its good, it has its bad, but most importantly, it's got it. What it is? I don't know, I just wanted to sound cool as smart. Like, it's got its magic, its merit, and its identity. And I guess that's good enough to separate it from the previous concepts. Not to say that the execution is bad though. It does have a few hitches and cracks here and there, but it's nowhere near bad. Balancing technology and bending is rather unique and fun. I do kinda wish Korra would have lost her bending at the end and still remain as the avatar not using her past lives for the purpose of wisdom and experience instead of raw power, but that would have made a very different show going forward, so it's pointless to discuss this idea right now. Anyways,